Hello, welcome back to Sow, Grow and Cook. Yesterday I went to our annual seed swap and came back with a few little goodies that I'm going to plant up today in some module trays. Now I always hesitate making videos about what you should sow or grow in a particular month because I know my viewers are from different parts of the world. And even if they were in different parts of the UK, the microclimates and the planting times would be slightly different depending on whether you're north or south, east or west, near the coast or more inland. We've just got a really varied climate here in the United Kingdom. So if you feel that planting seeds now in preparation for putting them outdoors is appropriate for you, then by all means follow what I'm doing, or just watch for curiosity's sake if you like. So as I said, I'm going to be planting these in module trays, and when they're bigger and the weather has settled, then I will put some of these outdoors once they've acclimatized. Now the things I'm going to be planting are reasonably cold tolerant, and I'll show you what I've got in mind. I've got some Swiss chard, the rainbow sort, snow peas or snap peas, or as we call them here in the UK, mange tout peas. And this variety is called Spring Blush. I think it's it's got a pinkish tint on the pods, very pretty apparently, and they grow quite tall. I've also got some purple peas. I think these are shelling peas. They're not the eat the whole pod sort of peas. I've got some early shelling peas called Meteor, and they don't grow very tall, so I could maybe put some of these in my polytunnel once they've germinated and have an extra early crop. Okay, in addition to those peas and things, I've got some self-saved red, dark Rodin lettuce, which is a really, really dark red, sort of bronzy dark red lettuce that I saved from last year. And I've got some bronze arrow lettuce that I saved from last year. And finally, I've got some leeks that I saved seed from last year. Quite a few, and I'm quite interested to see how these get on. Oh, I have one more thing I'm going to plant, and that is something called Delaware kale. Okay, Delaware kale is a heirloom or heritage open pollinated variety that's, like most kales, pretty cold tolerant. It's kind of a flat leaf, not a fritty leaf like curly kale. It's meant to taste really nice. It's got a slight reddish tinge to it, and it grows really well in this particular climate, which is kind of wet and cold in the winter. So I'm going to plant some of that. And I might just plant a few other things if I still have space. Now I'll show you the big module tray that I'm going to be using today. Okay, I bought this module tray off the internet. It was actually second-hand, so I didn't even buy it new, and I got a couple of them of this size. Quite a lot of room for roots, but you cannot really leave the plants in here too long because the modules themselves are not huge, but they're big enough to kind of get them started. And there's 150 little modules in this one here. So I'll be able to do a little bit of many things in there. And further back, I've got an old planting tub where I'm going to sow the leek seeds and start them off in there. And when they're big enough, I'll dig them out and separate them and transplant them into outdoor beds. Okay, so I'll just get started. Okay, I always like to start my plantings by watering module trays first, so that you don't wash the seeds out once you've planted them. So I'm using cooled kettle water, so it's kind of tepid, not icy cold. That'll also give the seeds a bit of a head start. Just move this out of the way. I've got this in a drip tray on the dining room table. I'm afraid I take over the dining room during seed planting time. I'm sure a lot of you do similar things in your homes. It's just still a little bit too cold and variable in the greenhouse and polytunnel at the moment. So I treat them a little bit like babies, and I keep them indoors just till things get started and the weather isn't so frosty as it has been here. Also wanted to say the soil in the leek preparation tub is half compost that I bought from the shops, and the other half is molehill soil. We're having a lot of moles digging up molehills at the moment, so I'm using some of that soil and I'm mixing it with the compost, and it just helps it go a bit further. Okay, I'm ready to start the planting, and I'm going to use the end of a pencil as a dibber to make a hole in each of the little modules. So I'll just do that to begin with. And I'll probably start by planting some of the peas in this first couple of rows. Okay, let's start with the meteor peas. Put my little label there. And I'm not going to bother soaking these, I'm just going to plant them dry. I've tried soaking seeds in the past, and sometimes they can rot when that happens. Particularly beans, less so with peas, but I think as I've watered these ahead of time, the modules, I'm just going to go with keeping them moist but not soaking them. Okay, so it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. I'll do 20 of those. And just cover them over. Okay, so I'll come back once I've done the different varieties of peas and we move on to the next veg. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the, not the Swiss chard, but the beets, the beetroot. Now, with it being a bit of a root crop, a lot of people think you can't really put those in module trays, but you can. These module trays are quite deep, and as long as there's not a lot of root disturbance and you get the little plug of plants growing, popping out of the module tray, you should be able to transplant them quite easily. And I've done it before, and I'm going to put 2 of these in each. Now, it's the interesting thing about beetroot and chard, which are related, is each of the seeds is actually a kind of a bigger container for smaller seeds inside. So each one probably has 2 or 3 actual seeds inside. Nonetheless, I'm going to put 2 in just to make sure the germination rate is good. And what happens is, as they grow in the ground, once you transplant them into their final position, they'll grow outwards, each of the beetroots, and the bigger ones will push the smaller ones to one side. And then you can take the bigger ones out, and the smaller ones that are left in the cluster will continue growing. So it kind of works. Sounds a bit strange, but it does work. So I'll put a couple of these in. And I like to do a 6-session planting of beetroot. And I do the same with carrots, in that I'll plant them 2 or 3 times over the spring and summer. Okay. And the same technique applies for the Swiss chard, except I think I'll probably just do 1 seed per module space here. Because what I'm going to do is, with the Swiss chard, I'm not going to have a whole bed of Swiss chard. I think I'm going to put them here and there in little spare corners of other beds. And that way it looks really pretty because they're quite a colourful variety. And if they do really well in one bit and not so well in another bit, then, you know, you've kind of spread the load a little bit. And I don't really need a full bed of Swiss chard. It's quite a lot. Once I get producing, it can, you know, you can get a little bit overwhelmed with the stuff. It is gorgeous stuff though. So I'll come back after I've planted these and we'll move on to the next item. Okay, the Delaware kale seeds now. They're quite tiny. And I'm just going to put a couple in each. And finally, the lettuce seeds that I saved from last year. Just try and put 1 or 2 in each little space. You don't need to cover them too deeply because lettuce likes a little bit of light for its germination. Finally, I'm going to plant the leeks in this tub up here. And that's going to be really simple. The soil is dampened and I'm basically just going to sprinkle the leek seeds pretty liberally on top. And what comes up, comes up. I'll probably do another sowing later on in the season as a backup plan and just to have some a little bit later as well. There's a few more here. I'll just pat those down. Okay, the soil's been watered already. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cover them with a little bit of recycled plastic. just to keep the moisture in. And when the weather gets a little bit warmer and a bit more settled outside, which I think is going to happen in the next few days, I'll put these out in the greenhouse because the warmth in there will help speed up the germination. Other jobs this week include transplanting my many varieties of tomato seedlings into bigger pots. But I've made a video showing how I've done that before. So if you want to see how to prick out delicate seedlings, I'll put a link for that video in the description box below. So what have you been planting this last week? Or are you still holding off because of the weather? Just let me know in the comments section below. And once again, thanks for watching Sow, Grow and Cook. Hope to see you next time. Bye for now.